Grady A. Ragan Jr. and I've been a member of the museum. I'm not what we call a charter member, the original people that started the museum and signed it. But I joined the museum a short time afterwards.
Name is Robert M. Soule. I'm the son of Robert M. Soule Jr., who was the co-founder with Paul Merriman of the Tennessee Valley Railroad Museum.
Paul Merriman was an electrical engineer who worked for DuPont. He was a lone ranger, you know.
Paul was definitely a very unique individual.
I know people that worked with him at DuPont, and he would be forever ordering equipment and stuff, and the bosses, no one would even know anything about it until all this huge shipment came in, you know, and just was off doing, you know, what he thought it ought to be.
I would say he's absolutely eccentric.
All of his clothes and possessions, he had a chalky red Volkswagen Bug, and he kept all of his clothes and stuff and lived out of that.
And in some respects, he bordered on genius, if not outright genius. He certainly extremely bright mechanically and electrically. Merriman showed up at DeButt's yard while they were, you know, doing this work of constructing the yard. He crossed paths with my father, and they both figured out really quick that they had an interest in steam, and they formed an immediate friendship, really, and began almost immediately touring the Southeast, filming the remnants of steam operation in the late 50s. They definitely realized, you know, the end was near. The Southern had already cut steam off in 1954. That was the last of steam on the Southern. And the N&W was about the last, I guess really the last major railroad that was operating steam. But even the N&W realized that, you know, this just didn't make any sense after a while, and the end came. And they saw all that developing, and it was on one of the trips while they were filming the last of the N&W steam that Paul and my father had the discussion about, you know, we've got to do something to save some of this before it all goes to the scrapper.
We heard that the K&T had the engines for sale for scrap price.
I think they bought 3 Alcos, and so that they knew, you know, the end of steam was coming there as well. And when they approached Mr. Bruce and asked him, you know, are you going to sell the locomotives? And he said he was. He had not come to a price at that time, but that he was going to sell them. Paul asked at that time, you know, would you sell me personally one of the locomotives? And he said he would think about it.
I don't remember how we managed to do it, but we scraped $5,000 together to go up and buy the 4501. And there were 6 or 8 of us that went up. And Mr. Bruce had a small office, you know, just to build. And so we sent Paul in to buy the engine. And we waited out in the hallway, you know, half a dozen of us or so. And so after a short period of time, Paul came out, and his very words were, says, fellas, I did it. And Bob said, you did what, Paul? Those are the very exact words. And Paul said, I bought the 4501. He had gone in there and bought the engine for himself.
You know, they went up, and Paul did actually purchase the locomotive for $5,000. And then they started trying to figure out how they were going to get it to Chattanooga.